President Bongbong Marcos says the Philippines will end its involvement with the International Criminal Court after it rejected the government's appeal to suspend the drug war probe. Zakarian Sarao fills us in with the details live. Zach?
Yes, Neil. President Bongbong Marcos said this is basically the Philippines' final appeal to the ICC, with the government now, quote-unquote, essentially disengaging from any contact and communication with the court. Marcos then reiterated that the Philippine government will not cooperate with the ICC probe, citing, quote-unquote, very serious questions in the court's jurisdiction, interference, and, quote-unquote, attacks on the sovereignty of the republic.
We don't have a next move. That is the extent of our involvement with the ICC. That ends all our involvement with the ICC. Kasi hindi na tayo pwedeng mag-appeal. The appeal has failed. And there's, in our view, there's nothing left, there's nothing more that we can do in the government. And so, at this point, we essentially are disengaging from any contact, from any communication, I guess, with the ICC.
Just 2 weeks after the Office of the Solicitor General asked to suspend and reverse the ruling that authorized the reopening of the investigation by the ICC prosecutor, the ICC Appeals Chamber on Monday rejected the Philippine government's formal request. The ICC cited the OSG's failure to back its claims that the court's investigation would result in consequences that could not be corrected. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla merely wished the ICC good luck with its probe, saying that it lacks the authority to take any action. According to Remulla, the ICC has to come up with a compulsory process before it could even proceed with its probe. Remulla further added that because the country is not a part of the ICC's jurisdiction, it cannot compel the Philippine government to act in any manner. Remulla even challenged the ICC to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin first to show what they can do, accusing them of merely, quote-unquote, talking big. Back to you, Neil.
Zach, so here are the facts on the table. Number one, the ICC will continue its probe. Number two, the Philippines will essentially not cooperate. These two things basically don't align with each other. So do we know how the ICC will continue given these circumstances?
Well, Neil, for starters, victims of the drug war or their families may still cooperate with the ICC. What comes next would depend on the findings of the court. According to the ICC, after gathering evidence and identifying a suspect, the prosecution will request ICC judges to either issue an arrest warrant or summon the suspect to appear before the court. In such cases, the ICC relies on the country's own force to conduct arrests and transfers to the ICC, unless the suspect chooses to appear before the country voluntarily. Should the suspect appear before the ICC, the investigation will then proceed to the pre-trial stage, then the trial itself, the appeal stage, and the enforcement of the sentence. But Neil, there are a lot of variables that need to be taken into account, and it's difficult to conclusively predict the investigation's outcome and consequences.
Because I remember President Rodrigo Duterte specifically saying that he's willing to cooperate if he will face the local courts, but not the international courts. So that's something that we have to follow, and we'll see how this unfolds moving forward. That's Zakarian Sarao reporting live.